Escape from Alcatraz, the story of a mastermind. At the beginning of the story, we see a clever thief named Morris, who has been caught by the police for a bank robbery. He is sentenced to life imprisonment and is being taken to Alcatraz, the world's most secure prison. Alcatraz is a prison built on a small island in the middle of the ocean. This means that even if a prisoner breaks out of the jail, they cannot escape because the water blocks their path. That's why this prison was considered the most secure in the world, housing only the world's top criminals. But soon, the prison's reputation was about to be shattered because a cunning thief named Frank Morris, who had escaped from prison several times before, had just arrived. This time, however, Morris was a little nervous because this prison was extremely secure. But Morris had no intention of spending his entire life here. He wanted to escape as soon as possible. From the moment he entered the prison, Morris started thinking about escape. After a full-body search, he was locked in a cell. A guard approached him and said, "Welcome to Alcatraz, and this is where the real story begins." Suddenly, a bell rings, and all the cell gates open automatically. The officers call the prisoners out. The discipline in this prison is very strict. Prisoners have to follow rules about cleanliness and returning to their cells on time. Everyone wearing the same uniform lines up for breakfast. In front of Morris is a prisoner named Litmus. Morris asks, "I didn't get a fork. How am I supposed to eat my noodles?" Litmus replies, "Hey, this isn't your home. Eat what you're given quietly." Just then, a dangerous prisoner named Wolf starts to taunt Morris. Every prisoner was tired of Wolf. He bullied everyone and had numerous cases of assault against him. This prison housed some of the most dangerous criminals. Litmus asks Morris for some food, and Morris gives him his plate. When Morris looks under the table, he sees that Litmus isn't eating the food himself, but is feeding it to a mouse. That night, a guard takes Morris to the warden. When Morris arrives at the warden's office, the warden says, "I know you have a sharp mind and are very intelligent, but what use is that here? Many like you have come and gone, but no one has ever escaped. Prisoners here follow very strict rules. You can have a visitor once every 2 months, and that's only if I'm in a good mood." The warden is a very strict man who gives harsh punishments for the slightest mistake. "Don't even think about escaping," the warden warns, "or you'll be torn to pieces." Morris replies, "No, sir. Who would think of escaping while you're here?" But in reality, from the very first day, Morris's mind was already planning his escape. During their meeting, Morris manages to steal the warden's nail clippers. It was a small thing, but Morris knew that in a prison like Alcatraz, even a small nail clipper could be used for a big job. Back in his cell, he hides the clippers in a Bible. The next day in the showers, Wolf harasses Morris again. But this time, Morris isn't going to let it go. He shows his true colors, grabs Wolf, and beats him up severely. After beating Wolf, Morris gains a new reputation in the prison. Everyone starts to fear him. Morris is then assigned to work in the library, where he meets a man named English. English is a senior prisoner, sentenced to life for a double murder. He has spent half his life in this prison and knows every nook and cranny of it. He is aware of everything that happens, including the fight between Morris and Wolf that morning. He gives Morris some books to deliver to each prisoner's cell. In the next scene, we see the yard where prisoners are playing games. Morris meets an artist named Doc, who is painting a self-portrait. Doc is a simple and decent man who has been serving his sentence for years. He loves painting and spends most of his time doing it. Doc believed that anyone could go crazy in a place like Alcatraz, but his painting kept his mind stable. Morris asks Doc why he has painted a flower in his portrait when there isn't one on his shirt. Doc replies, "This is my happiness, which exists only in the painting, not in my heart." Morris then spots English up on a ledge and goes over to him. English's men try to stop him, but English signals for them to let him through. Morris sits down and gets straight to the point. "Will you help me escape from here?" he asks. English laughs. "Look, kid, this isn't just a prison. It's a grave for all of us. The only way out is to die first, so our bodies can be taken to the cemetery." Let's say you manage to climb these high walls and get past the dangerous fences, and by some magic, you evade the hundreds of guards and get out. You still can't escape because the ocean will block your way. So don't waste your time. Just serve your sentence quietly. At least you'll stay alive. But Morris was determined. He wanted to escape at all costs. That night, an officer informs Morris that he has been assigned to carpentry work, with a wage of 50 cents an hour. Morris immediately agrees, thinking he might find a tool there that could help him escape. The next day, Morris asks Litmus for a way out. Litmus says, "Oh, it's very easy. Every cell has an air vent. You can reach the roof through it. From there, maybe you can escape." He smiles and walks away. Just then, Doc warns Morris that Wolf is coming towards him. Wolf attacks Morris with a knife. Morris wraps his coat around his arm and fights back. When a guard tries to intervene, Wolf attacks the guard as well. The situation escalates, and a guard from the watchtower starts shooting. Morris and Wolf finally stop fighting. Morris hadn't known there was a guard in the watchtower. He starts noticing every detail of the prison. The guards take Morris and Wolf to D Block, a place where prisoners are tortured in the dark all night. It was a cell no prisoner ever wanted to go to. Before being taken away, Wolf threatens Morris, "You will die by my hands." That night, Morris endures various forms of torture, leaving him in a terrible state. After 2 weeks in the dark cell, he is returned to his own. Litmus sends him a note via his pet mouse. "Welcome back, Morris." One day, a new prisoner named Charlie arrives and is placed in the cell next to Morris. They quickly become friends. Morris introduces Charlie to his other friends. At the same time, the warden conducts a surprise inspection of the cells. When he enters Doc's cell, he finds several of Doc's paintings. The warden is surprised to see his collection growing. Doc had also painted a portrait of the warden, which makes him smile. But for some reason, the next day, the warden orders the guards to throw out all of Doc's paintings. This decision completely breaks Doc, as his paintings were his only reason for living. He loved each one of them. They were his only source of happiness, and now they were taken from him. Morris tries to comfort him, saying, "It's okay, they were just paintings. You can make more." But Doc couldn't recover from the shock. The next day, seeing Doc's state, Morris tells a guard, "Please keep an eye on Doc. He looks very distressed. He might harm himself." The guard tells him to mind his own business. Doc is also assigned to work with Morris in the carpentry shop. Suddenly, Doc secretly places something in Morris's pocket. He then calls a guard and with the carpentry axe, chops off 3 of his own fingers, shouting, "I don't need the fingers I can't paint with." The guards grab him and take him away. Morris finds that Doc had placed the same flower from his painting in his coat, as if to tell him, "They took my happiness from me." Morris picks up Doc's severed fingers, puts them in a box and tells a guard, "Go give this to your warden. He'll be very happy to see it." The next day, Morris is sitting in his cell when he sees a cockroach go into the air vent. This gives him the idea that there must be a way out through there. English comes by and tells him that Doc cut his fingers because his painting privileges were revoked. Morris is enraged by this news. The next day in the dining hall, the warden asks Morris why he is supporting Doc so much. Morris dismisses it. At the table, he meets 2 brothers, John and Clarence. Morris talks to them as if he already knows them. It turns out they were part of Morris's gang in another prison. Now the task of escaping seemed easier to John, as the 2 brothers were as sharp-minded as Morris. The 3 of them began to plan their escape. In the afternoon, Charlie's girlfriend comes to visit him. On the other side, English's daughter is visiting him. Seeing his daughter, who had grown so much in his absence, brings tears to English's eyes. He regrets missing her childhood. Meanwhile, Charlie's wife tells him that his mother is very ill, and doctors say she won't live for more than a couple of months. Hearing this, Charlie also starts thinking about escaping from Alcatraz. The guard then announces that visiting time is over. A distressed Charlie tells Morris that night, "If you're planning an escape, count me in." The next day, Morris, Charlie, John and Clarence have a meeting. Morris explains his plan. Every cell's air vent opens to the roof. Also, this place is surrounded by salt water, which has weakened the walls. I have a nail clipper and have already started digging. If I dig little by little and make a small tunnel to the roof, we can survey the area and figure out how to escape. John asks, "What if the guards find out you're not in your cell at night?" Clarence has a solution. "I know a barber here who can supply us with hair. We can use it to make dummy heads and place them on our beds. That way, even if we're on the roof, the guards won't get suspicious because they'll see the fake heads." But the problem of crossing the ocean remained. Morris tells John, "I need your help. You work in the clothing department. You can get some raincoats made for the officers. Steal a few for me. We can use them to make a tube boat and life jackets to cross the sea." Charlie also wants to help. Morris assigns him to keep watch while he digs the vent, and they agree to take turns. Everyone likes the plan, and they start that very night. But the nail clipper was too small for digging the wall. Morris had to use a lot of force, and it was difficult. He even hurt his hands, but he slowly kept digging. The next day, he tells his friends he needs a bigger tool. As he looks at the spoon in his hand, an idea strikes him. He deliberately dirties his spoon by rubbing it on his shoe. He then calls a guard and says, "This spoon is dirty. I need another one." Other prisoners also request new spoons. The guard sees nothing wrong and agrees. As the guard goes to the table where spoons are kept, John distracts the other guard sitting there. Taking advantage of the situation, Morris grabs 2 spoons instead of 1, hiding one in his pocket. That night, when English comes to give him a book, Morris asks if he can get any welding equipment. English realizes Morris is still obsessed with escaping. He warns him again that it's a futile attempt and he might get caught or even killed. But Morris is unfazed. The next day, he asks Litmus for matches, promising to give his share of food to Litmus's mouse every day. Litmus happily agrees. That night, Litmus passes him the matches. Morris takes apart the nail clipper and attaches the handle to a broken spoon, using the matches to weld them together into a sharp, shovel-like tool. He then resumes digging around the vent while Charlie keeps watch, ready to whistle if a guard approaches. One night, Charlie dozes off and a guard walks by. Luckily, English intervenes and distracts the guard. The conversation wakes Charlie, but he's too tense to whistle. He drops something instead. Morris gets the signal, covers the vent, and lies down on his bed. The guard asks about a burning smell. Morris cleverly replies, "Sir, with you on duty, who would dare to smoke? I don't smell anything." The guard, pleased with the compliment, moves on. Morris finishes removing the concrete around the vent, but finds it is bolted in. He needs a sharp tool to cut the screws. Whenever Morris gets a chance to go outside, he secretly disposes of the cement debris from the grill. One day, while working in the carpentry shop, he picks up a sharp piece of metal. Charlie asks how he'll get it past the metal detector. Morris confidently says, "I'll handle it." When Morris goes through the metal detector, it beeps. He was holding one piece of metal in his hand. The guard asks why he's taking it. Morris says, "I thought I'd use it to hang clothes." The guard confiscates it, frisks him, and lets him go. But our hero had stolen 2 pieces of metal. The other was hidden in his shoe. With the sharp metal, he cuts the grill. Now it was time to make the dummy heads. Charlie gets some paint from a guard by saying he has a hobby of painting. Morris grinds the concrete from the hole into a powder. John collects hair from the barber shop, and Clarence gathers old books from the library. With all the materials, Morris creates a dummy head using water and old magazines, painting it and adding fake hair to make it look realistic. He also creates a fake cardboard wall to cover the tunnel, making it undetectable. One night, Morris decides to go up to the roof alone. He places the dummy head on his bed, covers it up to the neck with a blanket, and exits through the tunnel, replacing the fake cardboard wall. He climbs up the pipes to the roof while Charlie keeps watch. On the roof, he finds an iron grill that is too high to reach. Meanwhile, a guard questions Charlie about painting so late and why Morris is asleep so early. Charlie nervously explains that Morris was tired from carpentry work. Suddenly, the guard's baton drops. As he picks it up, he notices Morris's hair looks strange. Charlie panics. The guard reaches into the cell and touches the hair. Just then, Morris, having returned, asks, "What's wrong, sir? Is my hair that beautiful?" Luckily, Morris had made it back in the nick of time. The next day, Morris tells his team about the grill on the roof. John says his vent is also fully dug, and he will join him that night. That night, Morris and John go to the roof. John lifts Morris, who grabs the grill. They realize it's welded shut and will need a drill to cut through it. The next day in music class, Morris spots a small fan. He thinks he can turn it into a drill. He asks Charlie to somehow sneak it out. Charlie easily hides the fan in his instrument box. When he is checked by the guards, they don't find the fan. Morris gets to work and after several hours, fashions a drill from the fan. That night, he and Charlie go to the roof and start drilling the iron rod. The noise is loud and guards start coming up, but by then, Morris has cut through one rod. The noise stops and the guard leaves. Now all paths were clear for their escape. They decide to escape on Tuesday night from Alcatraz, the prison no one had ever escaped from. The next day, they meet in the movie hall. Amidst the movie's loud sound, Morris asks John and Clarence if their vents and the raincoats for the raft are ready. They confirm everything is set. The next morning at breakfast, Morris places the flower Doc gave him on the table. When the warden sees it, he comes over and crushes it. Litmus, enraged because the flower was Doc's favorite, attacks the warden, shouting that he killed Doc and now won't even spare his memory. As he attacks, Litmus has a heart attack and collapses. Furious at the warden, Morris and the others decide to escape that very night. As Morris waits for midnight, English brings him some books. Morris asks to shake his hand one last time. English understands and leaves quietly. But then something unexpected happens. The warden suddenly comes to inspect his cell, as if someone had tipped him off. Morris panics, thinking his months of hard work are about to be wasted. The warden orders a thorough search of the cell. But Morris's plan was flawless. The guards check everything, even removing the suitcase from the spot where the tunnel was, but they find nothing because of the perfectly fitted fake cardboard wall. When they find nothing, they leave, but the guard mentions that Morris and Charlie talk all night. The warden orders Morris's cell to be changed the next day. The next day, Wolf threatens Morris again at breakfast. Morris tells his friends, "That idiot is right. Tonight will be my last night here." That afternoon, Wolf attacks Morris with a knife, but English intervenes, wanting to help Morris succeed. That night, Morris, John, Clarence, and Charlie plan to meet on the roof. Charlie agrees, but back in his cell, he gets scared and decides not to go. The other three make it to the roof and wait for him, but he doesn't show up. They decide to leave without him. As they proceed with their plan, Charlie watches his dream of freedom slip away. The three of them stealthily move, avoiding the searchlights, and reach the end of the building. In his cell, Charlie feels a surge of courage and decides to escape. He gets to the roof, but it's too late. He can't reach the high door alone. He has lost his chance at freedom due to fear. The other three climb down a pipe, evade the guard in the tower, and reach the final prison wall. They climb the fence one by one and run to the shore. They take out the raincoats and begin to inflate them with their mouths. It takes a long time, but they finally manage to inflate their makeshift raft and put it in the water. Thus, the three of them escape, shattering the reputation of Alcatraz. The next morning, a guard doing his rounds finds everything normal at first. But when he gets to Charlie's cell, Charlie is standing there like a ghost, regretting his cowardice. The guard asks why his friend is sleeping in so late. He goes to Morris's cell and calls out to him. When there's no response, he gets angry, opens the cell, and tries to pull him up by his hair. The head falls off. The guard is shocked to see the dummy head. Morris was gone. The siren blares throughout Alcatraz. A massive search is launched, but the three are nowhere to be found inside the prison. The warden initiates a search operation in the sea, believing they must have drowned. But deep down, he knew they were strong enough to have survived. The warden is questioned by headquarters. Stressed, he finds Doc's favorite flower on the shore. This meant Morris had also taken revenge for Doc. The search team head reports that they couldn't find any bodies. To save his job and reputation, the warden orders the report to state that the three tried to escape but drowned. However, no one believed this. Morris became famous worldwide as the genius who broke out of Alcatraz. A year after this incident, Alcatraz prison was closed down, as there was no longer a guarantee that no one could escape. And so this film, based on a true story, comes to an end.